All right, so today, Ei.Venture is in partnership with their portfolio company, Psilly, is hosting a webcast to help raise awareness of alternative approaches to treating mental health disorders like anxiety and depression. According to a study by John Hopkins Medicine, over 9.5% of adult Americans suffer from depression. Fortune Business Insight says that the global market size for anxiety disorders and depression treatments was over 8 billion in 2019 and is projected to reach over 13 billion by 2027. Additionally, over 18% of Americans suffer from anxiety disorders, and it's up to 40% of Americans say they are more anxious in 2022 than last year. A good sign, though, is this number is down from 63% of those surveyed since the spike up in 2021. Today, we're going to learn why modern day psychiatric drugs are missing this opportunity and how a group of entrepreneurs, researchers, and scientists aim to fix it. I'm going to hand it over to Cecil and the Psilly team to start the webcast.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. My name is Cecil Robles. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Ei.Ventures. I also have right next to me David Nixad, who's the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Ei.Ventures and soon to be PSLY. And we have a team with us today on the call. We're excited that everybody joined. If you could, go ahead and let us know your name, where you're calling in from. You can open up the box that is on the Zoom chat feature. It's called the Q&A box. You can open that up, put that in there, and let us know that you can hear us as well. And then we'll go ahead and make some introductions to the team, and we'll get right into today's webcast. So it looks like we have Juan here from Paraguay. Steve, thank you for being here. Dana, Dallas, Paul from Michigan. So we have many hundreds of people on. So thank you so much for joining us today. So I'd like to go ahead and start out by introducing who we have on the call today. So first off, we have our Chief Executive Officer, David Nixad, sitting right here next to me. So I'm going to let him give an introduction and say hi to everyone.
Aloha, everyone. Definitely humbled. Definitely today, the reflection was going to Hawaii almost 11, 12 years ago and really setting intentions to go down this journey and all the people we met along the way. We are very grateful for the 10,000 plus investors we have today. I can remember the first AMA Cecil and I did in Hawaii together, and full circle, we're an adult company now.
That's right.
So
absolutely
grateful for everybody taking the time out today. Thank you, Cecil.
Absolutely. So we also have Ben Kaplan on the call as well. Ben, why don't you go ahead and give an introduction, tell us a little bit about your background, and let us know where you're calling in from too.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the CEO and chairman of Mycotopia Therapies. I'm located here in Miami, Florida, and we hope in the next weeks to come we'll have a definitive agreement on a merger between Psilly and Mycotopia.
Awesome. We also have Tyler Strauss, who is head of product development, and he works in the science part of our team. Go ahead, Tyler, and give an introduction of yourself as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler Strauss. I'm VP of Product Development. I've been involved with plant medicine for over 10 years. I've been studying psychedelics quite intensely for the past 3.5 to 4 years. Very excited to be in charge and a part of this team, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. We also have Brian Keene with us today. And Brian is really helping us in the merger process with Mycotopia, as well as our go public strategy. So Brian, go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself as well.
Thanks, Cecil. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, David, and the rest of the team. My name is Brian Keene. I'm calling from the heart of where all the money centers have emerged here in Brickell, downtown Miami, the financial district. And it's the place to be right now in all things crypto, Web3, et cetera. I'm a 25-year Wall Street veteran, lawyer by training, worked for several investment banks. I specialize in transitioning companies from the private to public space, finance for $2 billion in transaction value across every industry. And I'm very passionate about what the Psilly team is doing in terms of leveraging various assets to deploy what we have to help with health and wellness. And you'll see and stay tuned on what we're doing. So I'm really happy to be here and look forward to hearing the rest of the session.
Great. And then, of course, Dr. Linda Strauss, go ahead and chime in.
Thank you. Excited to be here as well. I have a PhD, not an MD, so I have a PhD in biochemistry and physiology with over 30 years experience in the drug development and life science industry. In addition, I'm a professor at the University of California, San Diego, where I teach a human nutrition and wellness class. So bringing all these pieces together, it's just exciting for me to see us bring, psychedelics and plant medicine mainstream so that everybody and anybody who needs it can have access to it regardless of their social or economic status. And it's exciting to see all the opportunities out there. So glad to be aboard. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So what I'd like to do right now is I'm going to put a link into the chat box that everybody should receive. First off, if you've invested in Ei.Ventures, we just want to tell you how grateful we are. I know we've been talking about that this morning on a pre-call. And so thank you for being investors. If you are already invested with Ei.Ventures, we're in right now what's called a Reg A Plus pre-IPO round. A Reg A Plus is a public offering that is qualified by the SEC. We've been in that process now for 12 months. We've had over 9,000 people join us now as investors. And we are on a journey to move into the next phase now as a company. And so that's what this call is really all about. It's about giving you, the investors, updates, as well as answering questions that anybody might have who has yet to invest in Ei.Ventures. We have 5.5 days left in the offering. And so I posted a link right now in the chat session. That's a direct link to invest directly through our portal. It's called Dealmaker is the portal that we use. And you can go through a very simple process to invest with as little as $498. And so again, investors that are here today joining us, we're grateful for you. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to let David talk about that a little bit too, and just give his gratitude as well. As you can see from the hat, we're in a state of gratitude here. So.
The reflection for me this morning had a lot to do with the journey getting here, and also understanding that right now the market in psychedelics has shifted a little bit. And I think a lot of people need to know that, as we've said from the beginning, this is a very longitudinal play for us. I know that there's an excitement to go down this road of going public, but the journey just starts today for us. It's an element of a community build. I don't like to, always, I used to hear PG at YC say, don't compare one thing to another. But in this case, when I saw today that Bored Ape Yacht Club came out with their coin and their DAO, I felt some similarities in terms of beyond those apes, there is a community. And with Psilly, we've done the same thing. We've built this community of people that believe in something that is very real. Meaning, when we started down this journey in Hawaii 11 years ago, I can remember sitting with Jason, Maura, Hillary, August. We were at Kalani on the Big Island on the super blue moon. And we all said to each other, can we just have like real food and real medicines and stuff that is actually grown from the soil, that, it's things we can understand on the label. So this process has definitely been lengthy. It's not something that's been, let's say, an overnight success, but the convergence of everything going on in society with crypto and NFTs and the metaverse and psychedelics and cannabis, I can tell you that I am just overly excited. I'm nervous right now because there's so many different projects that we are working on, and we got some of the some of the design work off of what we're doing on the metaverse land. And yeah, I mean, this idea of Psilly, we've always said, is about healing 1 billion people. And, you know, today I wore my shirt that the guys that deliver my weed for sent me. It says self-care over healthcare. And yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. Psilly is about self-care. And it's the idea of eliminating what I call human monetization of suffering or illness. Unfortunately, the way the system is written, it's about you getting sick and then going and finding help for yourself. How about preventive maintenance? For us at Psilly, it's about giving you tools to take care of yourself. That comes down to whatever we do, whether it's what we post on Instagram or the products we put out, or you know, the people that are involved in this company. Every single person in this company has a story. I've said this many times. We met with over 20 different investment bankers. We received many different offers, and it didn't feel right. And what felt right was a gentleman that I met, I think 2.5 years ago, virtually during COVID, whenever, you know, after March 2020, and came to Miami and met Benny. And now I'm in Miami too. And, you know, we're building something beautiful that's really real.
I love that. You know, speaking of that, what I'd like to maybe have happen right now, and I know we've got a bunch of questions coming in, so we're going to take those questions. If you do have questions, just feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we're going to go through the questions here in a bit. What I'd love to do is have Benny talk a little bit about Mycotopia, what Mycotopia is, and what a potential merger with Ei.Ventures might look like. And then maybe Brian can jump in as well and talk a little bit about that process that we're going through as a company right now to finalize all of this. So why don't you dive in, talk a little bit about Mycotopia, Benny, give people an overview of Mycotopia, and then let's dive into kind of the process after we close the Reg A.
Sure. Mycotopia is a little over a year old. It was a spin out of Ei.com, which is a data collection company in psychedelic and mental health. And we established Mycotopia to work with the molecule of psilocybin, ayahuasca, and other psychedelic compounds utilizing legal venues. So we chose Jamaica as our base. And in Jamaica, we're hitting a 3-prong approach. We're looking at clinical studies, trying to develop a psilocybin pill that falls in the mission of what Psilly wants to do, which is a $1 pill for the human race. And we'll start a palliative care study there on cancer patients in the next 90 days. We also have a vertical of a Psilly Cafe, which will be a full consumer-driven product where you'll be able to go into the location, or multiple locations actually in Jamaica, and buy different psychedelic candies, coffees, teas, tinctures, anything that you can imagine that has a psilocybin base. And then on the third base is we're going to be opening up clinics run by MDs. Those clinics will be opened in Q2. In Kingston will be the first one. And there we'll be taking in people that have mental health issues, different ailments, that are going to be looking for different medications that are what are prescribed today. So we'll hopefully be offering ketamine, psilocybin in a setting that's run by MDs and psychiatrists. And so Mycotopia has a path to revenues in 2022. And when David and I met, we chatted to see what we can do together. We felt that Mycotopia's brand could be really enhanced by what Psilly has done. And so we felt that the Psilly brand will be the survivor. And we're going to go forward with trying to build out as many revenue streams in the psychedelics world as possible in the near future. Today, Mycotopia is traded on the over-the-counter. The symbol's TPIA. And hopefully within the next 90 days, we'll be a combined company.
Great. And Brian, I'd like to turn it over to you while we're on this topic, and maybe you can walk investors and potential investors that are on the call right now through what that might look like for EI and Mycotopia, the pathway, and then how that becomes psly.com.
Yeah, thanks, Cecil, and Benny. Thanks for that background. Yeah, so this has been quite a journey, and we are.
I think we lost your volume there, Brian.
If you can hear me now, I zapped out there. But anyway, so it's been a long journey. We are coming to the close. I think that's for the effort that we're trying to do today in the AMA and the Q&A. But as of right now, we have a couple days left, and on the 22nd, we will be wrapping up, I think, the first major milestone in this journey in terms of a path to liquidity, right? So we anticipate that we will be into the definitive docs. And I would just like to say to the whole audience that some of the statements we may be making today, again, I know this is a lot of times forward-looking statements, and I will always reference everyone here on the call to the offering circular that has been circulated in the Dealmaker link for full disclosures. And so on the 22nd, we are very close to transitioning to what we call a definitive merger agreement, right? So we are very well on our pathway there. We are also going to be filing with the various agencies and the SROs, the SEC and the like, to have our S4 filed with the exchange. And then we will be going through a process through our trusted advisors, legal and accounting, to make sure that all of the steps and the processes that are in place and the timelines that are in place that are, of course, always approximate, given the commenting process and the evaluation of the integration of our merger with Mycotopia, will be a minimum of 30 days, but it could be a little bit longer than that in terms of expectation, because it takes time for us to go through these various documentation and processes as we move forward. We are working with a very strong advisory group right now that specializes in uplist, and I know that, and I can defer maybe back to Benny in terms of the transitioning of where we are in terms of approval of an uplist to a major exchange like NASDAQ. So, we're right in the midst of this. This is, one step of three in terms of, closing our Reg A on the 22nd, and we will be swiftly, and everything is in place. We like to say that the company has always been building towards and being NASDAQ ready, with integrating not only a diversified board, but all the requirements that are necessary for this not only merger and then subsequent uplist in the near term. So, Benny, if you want to chime in on sort of the uplist process in terms of where you see that sequencing, please do.
Sure. Thanks for Brian. If everything goes as planned, like Brian said, we should be closing on the 22nd, the Reg A. Sometime shortly after, we should be signing a definitive agreement. Once a definitive agreement is signed, we'll be having a combined financial statement. We'll be applying that to the S4. It'll go in front of the NASDAQ and the SEC. It's probably between a 60 and 90-day window that TPIA will be trading as its own. And hopefully sometime coming early summer, we'll be getting a new symbol, PSLY. Mycotopia and EI will become wholly owned subsidiaries of the S4 and will be listed on the national exchange on the NASDAQ.
Awesome. Thank you for that background. I think we're all just super excited. We've worked very hard. The team has worked very hard. Our science team that's on the call has worked very hard as well. I want them to give some updates also before we dive into the Q&A on some of the things that we're developing in Ei.Ventures in particular, and some of the science projects that we have going on right now in regards to the development of Psilly as well as the Psilly patch. And so maybe Tyler, Linda, either one of you want to jump in and talk about some of the updates and what's been going on. And then I know there's some other updates, some other LOIs that we're looking at as well, but love for you guys to jump in as well and give kind of an update on what's happening there.
Well, let me give an overview at a high level, and then I'll pass it on to Tyler and let him talk more specifically since he's the lead on our transdermal. But as you know, Psilly, as David said, we have a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of those spinning plates standing. I like to think of us taking an approach on 3 different verticals. One, an FDA approval or pharmaceutical track. The second, nutraceuticals, we like to say pharma with an F, so over-the-counter products. And then, of course, the metaverse and Web3 as a means to be able to deliver these products in a place where people can have access to it to the best of their ability. So if home is the place they want to be, by using virtual clinics in the metaverse, we'll be able to provide those services to our customers and patients alike. So on the pharmaceutical side, we are actively pursuing a transdermal delivery system. We're working on psilocin right now, looking at its stability, its ability to be delivered across the skin. We're working with our partner, a contract research organization called Tioga Research, which is an expert and specialist in transdermal and other topical delivery systems. We're going to move on to our own API, our active pharmaceutical ingredient. Again, being able to deliver at doses that don't induce the hallucinogenic or trip that we are so familiar with, which will enable people to use psilocybin and other psychedelics at a level where they can still function, work, and be treated, if you will, or have their symptoms managed through a more microdose or lower dose level, where we literally can flatten out that curve rather than have that spike that you see when you do a macro dose of a psychedelic. We are actively in the preclinical phase. We've been speaking with a number of people in terms of doing our next phase, animal cell models, and then eventually we will move into phase 1, where we'll be working with humans. And at this point in time, before anybody asks, we are therapeutically agnostic. We see this as a platform delivery system that we'll be able to use and share with others in ways that will allow us to get these psychedelics to the market more quickly than the long, arduous paths of others. So Tyler, do you want to add anything to that and maybe mention a few little potential, as Cecil said, conversations that we're having that could provide more?
As Linda said, we are focused on the platform delivery technology, and we are focusing initially on psilocin as our primary API. We are also in discussions with some additional clinical development partners that are interested in licensing the platform for the treatment of specific health disorders, primarily related to the central nervous system. We're also in conversations with other partners about bringing additional APIs into our platform so that we can further expand the number of tools available to clinicians and researchers. Furthermore, we're in talks with a vendor that will be able to provide us with a mushroom-derived API, as well as to develop our own sort of proprietary blend of mushroom-derived API. That's really sort of laying the foundations for empowering us to develop as many products and get those products to market as quickly as possible. I'll leave it at that and pass it back to Cecil and David.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just a reminder again, we have 5.5 days left in the Ei.Venture's Reg A offering. Minimum investment is $498. We've had over 9,000 investors join us in our community. And we're getting some questions in about, some of the products that we have that are going to be delivered. And, if we'll be offering people who have stores or maybe who have online businesses, the ability to sell those products. And absolutely 100%. We actually had a great call. Somebody who's on our team who's not on the call, Brendan Strauss, who also is part of the company, is working on right now getting the mana formulation and delivery for all the perks for previous investors. as well as to begin to put that product online in an e-commerce sector, and then also to be able to have affiliates that will put those products out into stores. Part of one of the things that we like about this merger with, the potential merger with Mycotopia is, we've always believed that we would be a company that, would be a psychedelic company that would have revenue. And that's something that I think a lot of psychedelic companies out there in the market right now, they can't say. And so that's always been part of our business development plan and game plan as a company. And so we have a number of initiatives that are moving towards that right now. I think what we'll do is go ahead and open it up to Q&A. Does that sound good with you?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, perfect.
I love it.
So I kind of already answered that question about investors who have stores be supported to be distributors of the product. So obviously the product being what Linda alluded to, the nutraceuticals, not obviously Psilly as the psychedelic products, but definitely the nutraceutical line. We also are working on a beverage line right now as well. So those are all products that, obviously we can have affiliate programs and distribution for. Let's see. So I think I already answered that question as well. What avenues of marketing are used to reach common investors? As part of the Reg A, we have the ability, the SEC gives us the ability to market our offering online to all investors, to retail investors across many different avenues and platforms. And so we obviously use social media, and you've probably seen people that are on this call may have joined this call through one of those avenues. So it's just like with marketing anything else, there's a number of channels that we use, and we have a very sophisticated and solid team behind us. And that's one of the things that we have going for us when we talk about these products and delivering them online. We have a very robust team of digital marketers, media buyers, and so on and so forth. So when those products are ready to be released, we have a game plan and a strategy to get revenues going immediately. How can I keep track of the progress of my investment? So you can go right into the Dealmaker portal. You should have a login there. Once you log in, you can access all of your documents, your subscription agreement. You can access any other documents that you've uploaded there. And then all of the digital certificates, when we close the round, will be delivered into Dealmaker as well as through your email. So as long as we have the correct email on file, then those certificates will be delivered right to your inbox as well as uploaded to the Dealmaker portal. So you have one place you can go and get all of your certificates, all of your signed documents, and so on and so forth. Let's see here, just kind of trying to go through some of these questions. What are the benefits of the merger? I'll let maybe Benny and Brian touch on that one, if you don't mind.
Okay, the benefits of the merger are multiple paths, but one of them is the thing that David just mentioned and Cecil about getting to revenues quickly. We're going to provide a path to revenues through Jamaica and then the Netherlands. Since there's only a few territories in the world that you have legal use of these psychedelic medicines in a environment like the US or Canada, where it's federally illegal, in these countries like Jamaica and the Netherlands, there's a path to revenues. And combining both companies, once again, where Psilly is a very big marketing machine, and most of the products that they're putting out today on the consumer side, may it be the beverages, the mana mushrooms, or the new products that we're going to be developing for the Jamaican market, will give us an opportunity to get revenue streams, which in turn, hopefully, will give us a better multiple. And at the end of the day, when we look at where we're going to be able to grow in the next 2 to 5 years, these are the territories that are on the map. And once this merger happens, we should have a combined market cap of over $400 million. As it was announced a few months ago, the transaction is to buy Psilly.com and Ei.Ventures at $360 million. So all the investors today that are investing at a $4.94 a share will have a value of $360 million on the purchase versus the value of the market today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add to again, just to chime in, is you know, post merger, you know, getting uplisted to the Nasdaq into a major exchange, and I think this is a benefit for all of the thousands of shareholders, which again, you know, the markets we live in today are very retail driven, but once we are on that major exchange, we become institutionalized, and I think that's very important in terms of our growth and scalability, in terms of using our market and our fungibility as a public company to grow through acquisition, not only organically, but through you know, a variety of ways that is very much a place setting for us in the public markets. I'd also say, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I'd also say, and turn over to, you know, David and Cecil, I think there's a real interesting dichotomy that's happening in the marketplace for specific psychedelic companies. And I believe we are going to touch upon that today. And it's really the synthetic pathways that many companies in the public market are doing today. I think the rush for a variety of public companies that may have been too early. And I think we are in a very, very good position. And I'd love to turn over that topic, because I'm not really going to get into the substance of the business today, but over to Cecil and David in terms of how we are really differentiated as we go public, and being that we've been private for this period of time, and what we can do go forward. So
well, let's talk about, I mean, there's some catchwords out there like decentralization and this NFT thing. And I get questions all the time on, you know, how does the metaverse work with Psilly and everything else? I mean, let's look at the core foundation of what we just did. And I think I'm still processing it. Just like what has happened with crypto and NFTs and, you know, the popularity with like CryptoPunks and other thing, there will never be again, like this set of, let's say we end up with 12,000 investors. Those will always be the core investors that facilitated the energy to take this company public. So whatever we do in the future, whether we do a DAO or we do subsidiaries or we do some type of a coin, and so many ideas that are coming out. I can tell you right now, there's over a dozen LOIs that are going to come out in the next few weeks that we've been working on over the last year. We are a community of people that obviously connected in some capacity. Our goal here is to make sure that this community is empowered and they reap the rewards of being involved from the beginning. I mean, we're already talking about, we have 300 acres of land in the metaverse. I've already told Cecil, and we've been in discussions, we're going to make sure that just like you have a wall in Hollywood that has all the names of different people on it, whether it's on the ground or on a wall, we're going to do that with all of our investors on our metaverse land. And that will be put into the blockchain, and that will be there forever. So there are things that we are doing and we're watching in the Web3 space that we are going to mirror. And it's about game theory. It's about transparency. I can tell you that right now, formulations are going to be on the blockchain. In the beginning, when we go back to when Jason and I discussed this, it was about real food, real medicine, and clean food. And the one thing that I always get from people every day, I get thousands of messages on LinkedIn and my email, is nobody trusts anybody anymore. And that becomes a problem. And when I go and I discuss with our investors or other people, they always tell me it's not that they trust an Apple or Tesla, they trust brands like Patagonia. They trust brands that lead through their actions. And what we have done here is we have gone the route of the 1%, which is not taking easy money, but taking money from a community. And then the parent company, which a lot of people ask us about, Orthogonal Thinker, was the banker in this transaction. And the banker in this transaction is not a renter. Those are my family's assets with my co-founder. We still control Orthogonal Thinker, and we have no intentions of offloading our shares or shorting the market or anything like that. That's not our intention. The intention is, as my children are visiting me from Hawaii now, is to build something that my family and I can be proud of, that brought a community of people together that can change the world.
Very well said. And I think, with everything going on in the psychedelic space right now, one of the things that we had a discussion with one of our IP attorneys last week is that a lot of companies that have gone down the road and maybe done things like Brian said a little bit too early, working on synthetic products, really trying to file patents that are, very similar across the board. I think what you're going to find out is that at the end of the day, I believe our business development plan is a much better and more solid and more sophisticated plan. David always talks about reaching 1 billion people worldwide. With the technology that's happening and the things that are happening in the Web3 space right now, you have the potential to be able to do that, to be able to really impact 1 billion people worldwide. And while clinics are great, while retreats are great, while all of those things are fine, and I think that there's a place for those things, to be able to reach 1 billion people, you have to have a platform that is built out in a way that's robust enough and build this community that we're talking about in order for that to happen. And that's basically the play that we made into the metaverse. That's what it all has to do with. It has to do with us being able to reach 1 billion people, not only with our products, not only with Psilly at $1 a dose, but also through community, through engagement, through, like David said, game theory, through the ability to provide resources to people that are in need and that need to talk to somebody, immediately. And those are the kind of things that we're talking about building out and developing within this ecosystem. So it's all exciting stuff. I mean, I think we can sit here and talk about all the vision and things that we're planning for the future. I do want to get back into answering a few questions. I know we want to try to keep this right to an hour, so I want to make sure we answer as many questions as possible also. In terms of the time frame with IPO, I think Brian already covered that, but maybe if you want to go into just kind of briefly a brief overview of what that looks like, maybe one more time. I know we're getting a bunch of questions like that, so I just want to make sure it's very clear the pathway that we're on.
Yeah, and again, the clock starts to tick when we file post definitive agreement, which will be in the next week or two, simultaneous or just thereafter the closing of the Reg A. So once that filing happens, the standard or SOP with the sort of SEC and the regulatory agencies is to allow for a 30-day process to evaluate all the documentation, the S4, et cetera, and then come back with either some limited or some other types of comments. And usually it's not necessarily to substance, it's more about to form, and some of these things are very standard, and we address those comments. So again, we can't put a specific timeline on it, but usually, like Benny has said, and what we know from the norm, and
Lost you again.
I apologize, I zapped out there again, I apologize, but these transactions take anywhere from 30 plus to as long as 90 days. So again, this is a very conducive environment. There's been full disclosures, and we've been on the pathway to be NASDAQ ready. And so once these comments come back, which should be hopefully addressable immediately, we are able to evaluate where we are at that particular process, and it's very near term in terms of what we're looking to do. So I hope that answers it. I mean, it's a moving target, but these things do not last for an extended period of time. And being that we've been in this journey for so long and closing it on the 22nd, we are in the prime position to have everything in place and be able to consummate, integrate, and then uplist. So we're very excited.
Thank you, Brian. Got a question here from Jared. What's the current valuation of the Reg A? 333 million. You can obviously go and read all of that in our offering circular. I posted the link to that in the chat box. So make sure and avail yourself to that. Let's see here, just going down this list. Why has Ei.Ventures chosen a Canadian transfer agent since it's a US company? So we are integrated, our portal is integrated called Dealmaker, and the transfer agent that we use called Odyssey is integrated with Dealmaker. Obviously, they have a US side to the company as well, so we work with the US division. When will investors receive their perks? So we're actually working on fulfilling those right now. We expect immediately after the close of the Reg A. What we've done is we have given out some additional perks from the ones that we originally included. And you can see right on the wall behind me, our Medicine Men NFTs. We actually had those digitally photographed yesterday, and our team is working right now on actually building out and minting the NFTs. So those will be delivered immediately after the offering. And I believe we have a timeline of somewhere between 30 days after the offering for the other perks to be fully fulfilled and delivered. So you'll get an email on that with shipping. And then on the NFT side, when you invest in this current round, and for all previous investors as well, we'll get one of those NFTs. We will be sending you instructions on how to actually mint those and then put them in your wallet. We'll provide a full set of instructions for you on how to do that.
I can't wait to get mine.
I'm ready to get mine too. I think everybody on the call is ready to get
totally.
theirs. Let's see. How do you file S4 as OTC company? As S4 filers need to be NASDAQ listed when filing? I'll leave that up to the guys that are doing that.
Sure, I'll take that one. We're going to be filing an S4 with the NASDAQ and SEC. That is going to be a company called Psilly.com, and that is what's going to be listed up on the exchange. That's going to be a holding company. Inside that holding company, we're going to merge Mycotopia Therapies and Ei.Ventures. So at the end of the day, we'll have a NASDAQ listed company using the S4 application. And inside that, we'll own Ei.Ventures and Mycotopia Therapy. So all the shareholders of Mycotopia and all the shareholders at Ei.Ventures will exchange their shares for the new NASDAQ listed stock.
Can I add something else, Benny? We got another question that says, I am a Mycotopia shareholder. Will there be any dilution to Mycotopia shareholders post-merger?
We have a Reg A that's open today. And as we raise capital for our Reg A, there will be dilution to Mycotopia. But at the end of the day, there will be a ratio that is worked out between Ei.Ventures and Mycotopia. And that's how we're going to come up with the figure on how many shares of this new venture each shareholder will get in the new entity that lists on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, I want to add, and I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. I don't really get into my background so much because I like to lead with my actions. I've been investing now for over 25 years. I've invested in a few hundred plus companies. I've been involved with numerous funds. And I will tell you that we are fully invested in this company at Orthogonal Thinker. We have examined, I like to use the metaphor of a skyscraper. Literally the last 10 years, it's taken to build this skyscraper. One of the reasons I'm getting into this is the next question about the biotech stocks and the psychedelic stocks that have taken a major hit. Again, I am very new to the idea of taking a company public. I've been on the venture and angel side for a very long time, have written a lot of first checks into over 100 companies. What I do know and what I do understand is that We are in control of over 70% of the stock at Ei.Ventures, and we are going to do everything that we can with good energy and intention and actions to make sure that we don't dilute this company and we don't make decisions to hurt our shareholders. And that is my guarantee as one of the biggest shareholders.
Thank you. So I think that clears up a couple of those questions there. So good question. How much do you need to intend to raise in this round for it to be considered a successful round? So we already consider it a successful round. We have over 9,000 investors. I think that speaks for itself. We've raised over $20 million to date, and that number is going up consistently every day. And I believe that, we are looking to end somewhere around the $30 million mark. And I think that, again, is going to position us very well as a company. Yeah, with your help, we'll get there. So you can go to the link in the chat. And if you haven't invested already, go ahead and do that now. So let me go into, got a bunch of questions. I want to try to get through as many as possible. We've got about 15 minutes left here. For first-time investors. So this company will go public this summer and be on the NYSE. We're looking at NASDAQ, and we have a pathway. Obviously, there's no guarantees to anything, but this is the pathway that we've laid out. That's why we have the team that we have on the call today to kind of go through that pathway. Brian has already done that as well as Benny. And so, but that's our intended pathway. Again, if we already invested 1,000 in the initial offering, how many shares will we have? So it's $4.94 a share. I think that would come out to somewhere around 250 shares, something like that.
200 shares.
200 shares,
Yep.
yeah, something. Yep, so around 200 shares. Where can we buy your product? So right now, we don't have our products listed online. We're going to be doing that directly after the offering. We're working right now with our team in California to fulfill, first of all, our investor perks with Brain Mana and the Mana line. And then from there, we're launching an e-commerce store. So, and that will be, I believe, on brainmana.com. Well, the goal is to, like Benny said, be able to provide that medicine. There's a question here about anxiety as an investor. Will I be able to get some of that medicine? Obviously, the goal is to have those legal pathways opened up, and then to operate in legal jurisdictions right now, like Jamaica and also the Netherlands. And so that's the pathway to be able to get that product at this point in time. There is no product available from a psychedelic side at this point. And that's why we're going down. Of course, we have Linda and the science team going down the pathway of the FDA. And we also have a dual track with operating in legal jurisdictions. Obviously, there's states right now that are looking at opening up psychedelic therapy to people in those states. So that's another pathway. And we believe that's probably going to be the quickest pathway in the United States for legal jurisdictions and for those products to be able to be distributed in those places.
Can I jump into one thing else?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, to get back into the co-founders of this company, there are two co-founders that are not on this call. One is my co-founder of over 20 years, Jason Hopkins. He had one of the first cannabis law practices post Prop 64 in California, as well as Nate Sumbach, which was the lawyer to the lieutenant governor of Utah and actually worked with us before he was our lawyer. We worked with him on cannabis legislation in Utah. My background in the cannabis space is almost 20 years old. I try to remind people cannabis is not federally legal after 20 years. The parent company Orthogonal still holds a lot of assets in the cannabis space. We have never sold them. We've consistently empowered those companies. This psychedelics, thankfully, I believe are going to happen faster than cannabis because there's a different stigma. You also today have things like ketamine, which I don't totally consider a psychedelic, but that are Schedule 3s. I have to believe, given where we are as a society and a nation post-COVID, certain things going on in the world today, military veterans, many people I talk to, again, I probably receive over 1,000 messages a day. This is going to happen. When it's going to happen, I'm not sure. But the reason companies fail, and this has nothing to do about this specific company, so to say, but companies fail because people are subjective minded. They're not longitudinal. They're not committed. Our commitment, and everybody on this team, some people I've known for a year, some people I've known on this call for 10 years. And what I do know is everybody in this company has come together to execute this vision. Are there hard days? Of course. But what makes companies successful is going through the hard days. I know we have a number of questions left, but I definitely, as we get to the last 10 minutes, there's a lot of people that have made this happen, from my children that have been by my side the last 10 years, dealing with my crazy schedule. We have a dozen lawyers that have worked on this. A lot of gratis has gone in from a lot of people. We got to thank Republic Capital, Christian and Brian, for supporting us through this journey. Cecil, that came to Hawaii 9 times to see me. Roger and Marta from Surya, our Ayurvedic clinic in LA. Linda, Tyler, Brendan, their family, and G. Randall and Sons. Benny, who was my savant that was giving me advice on investment bankers. Brian and I are new friends, but have become brothers. This is a ohana, and I try to, I spent almost 16 years in Hawaii, and a gentleman by the name of Alec McBarnett, which is a very close advisor of mine that has been on the island since he was a child, said to me, David, ohana is not only family, it's about not leaving anybody behind. And, as you raise more money and you become more successful, decisions become difficult. You sometimes make decisions that are not always, as we say in Hawaii, pono, righteousness. I will tell you that everything we do in this company is about us coming together, talking things out, making decisions for this community. That's why when I look at decentralized finance and DAOs and Web3, this community, which is bigger than the Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks, and we have 10,000 people that are giving their energy to something that is going to change the world. And again, I don't want to get into valuations and numbers, but my belief as an investor that has invested in multiple dozen unicorns, this is a unicorn, and it will be a big one.
There it is. Hard to argue with that. So yeah, we've got a lot of questions. I want to try to answer as many as I can, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to answer the ones that I think are valuable, most valuable to everybody here, because we have over 120 questions in here. Yeah. Which one is David and which one is Cecil? This is David. This is Cecil.
I love that one.
Sometimes we use Cecil's voice for my video.
Yeah, sometimes we use my voice for the video.
Cecil, I may be able to, I've been going through these few of them together on the questions about something that all of us are passionate about, and that is the whole plant, or in this case, the whole fungi versus companies. What separates us, and why do we think we're going to be successful? And Mike asked it, Rowan asked it very early on, but as I was going through, there were other ones. So maybe can I take 2 minutes and try to, because it is a great question, because isolates, individual new chemical entities, there's no doubt that they are easier probably to get through the FDA pathway as we know it today than the whole plant. But we really believe and are passionate about plant medicine and the concept of wellness versus just health. I think I know if I let my Tyler go, we'd be talking about, why aren't we, managing against getting sick rather than, as David said earlier, we all wait till we get sick, then we go to the doctor and we expect them to magically cure us rather than, like I teach my students, talk about health and wellness. Maybe one of the easiest ways is an analogy, and that is to ask everybody, would you prefer to get all your vitamins and minerals from your foods versus taking them, as single entities, getting vitamin C from a pill versus getting vitamin C from your orange? We talk about this entourage effect, which to me means when I get my vitamin C from the orange, I get fiber, I get other nutrients, I get water, I get that whole plant, that whole fruit. So, and with the experience I have with the FDA, we are looking at whole plants in a different light. There are regulations that are coming out that are going to guide us through and enable us to be able to produce our product the same every time. And I believe that Psilly, Ei.Ventures are positioned in order to do this and test it to make sure we have a reproducible product. For everybody, that is ultimately what we want. We want to know that every time you go and, get a prescription, in this case, if we talk about the regulated pathway for Psilly, it'll always be the same. We also, on the other hand, want to know that when you go out and you buy brain mana, that you will also get a product that's produced with high quality, good manufacturing practices, and that every time you buy that, which you will be able to buy over the counter, you'll get the same product with optimal, benefits, and it will have great tastes and everything else that we stand behind in our products. So to the questions that asked, somebody else, as I read through, the last point was they asked about the use of therapeutically agnostic. I have to give Tyler credit for that. But what that means is we see a quicker pathway to monetization by focusing on our platform and being able to develop that, demonstrate its effectiveness, demonstrate the ability of transferring psilocin across the skin, and be able to use that for other products, whether it be, DMT or psilocin or any other psychedelics. It will be available for other people to utilize. So I think I tried to hit like 3 or 4 of those questions, so I'm not quite sure if
absolutely.
I did that.
No, that's great. There's one other question here that I definitely want to get to, but Norma asked, can I invest after the Reg A closes? Unfortunately, no, you can't. On midnight Hawaii time on the 23rd, the offering page will be closed down. We will no longer be taking in investment.
12 a.m. Hawaii time, the 22nd.
Good.
6 a.m. the 23rd Eastern time. So
yeah,
what we're going to do is we're going to have countdown sequence emails going out. We don't know the exact numbers, but we do know that we have over $21 million invested today. We have almost $25 million in commitments. We have another $17 million of people that have started down the road of finishing their investment. We believe that we have succeeded in an incredible fundraise. We do believe, as Cecil and I say, that we are going to be over that $30 million mark. And again, going back to this, it's all about the community. It's not about how much you invest. Obviously, if you can invest more, great. As I always tell people, we made the minimum 100 shares at $4.94 for a specific reason. Einstein talked a lot about critical mass theory. I actually, and this sounds hocus pocus, I feel like I'm making decisions, or I am that person that is the steward of these 10,000 plus investors, and that's important. And hopefully that we've shown you today who we are and where we're going and how transparent we've been in this process.
that's right. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And we're getting now to the end of the hour here, actually right on the hour.
Let's thank Jeremy and Michael Corcelli.
Yep, Jeremy, Michael Corcelli from Flya. We appreciate you for hosting this call. Thank you again to everyone that attended. I know we have a ton of questions. I'm going to put in the chat real quick before we go. Some of the questions that we didn't get to, we obviously have a lot of questions we didn't get to. I think we covered the ones that, seem to be repetitive over and over again, but you can actually get in contact directly with, if you have additional questions, directly with our investor relations team. And I'm going to put a phone number in the chat as well. Give me just one second.
Cecil, while you do that, and again, in the last 30 seconds, I did see a question I think that's very critical to our journey. Someone had asked exactly where is the land in the metaverse, and I think that's very key. If you could just highlight that, David, as we close out, because I think that's it serves as our billboard, I think, right now. But in terms of development, could you just touch upon that?
First of all, let's talk about, I spent literally a few thousand hours studying Web3 in the metaverse, really listening to the people that we were going to partner with or invest in. I will tell you, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Anamiko Brands, which is a gentleman by the name of Yatsu, that company out of Hong Kong that has probably invested in over 1,000 Web3 companies. Their wholly owned subsidiary is Sandbox. Once I started listening to Yatsu, very similar to CZ from Binance, I understood this idea that he speaks about. If you listen to him in the latest FTX podcast, he talks about human monetization in the financial system, and not for positive, but for negative. And really we need to change that. That's what, a lot of people talk about these shit coins and crypto and everything else. For us, Web3 has nothing to do about that. Crypto has nothing to do about that. It's decentralization, it's transparency. It's about people not being able to monetize human suffering, not being able to, how would I put it? I mean, it's as we used to say in Hawaii, when people would talk about a volcanic eruption or tsunami, all of a sudden the toilet paper was 10 times more expensive. Those things shouldn't happen. And I always like to use simple metaphors, but we are in an environment we're in a community of people. We have 9 billion people on Earth. We can make a difference. We all, as I always say, we all bleed the same. We all have a heart. We all care about each other. Psychedelics come down to empathy, and there's a lot on my mind, but probably to close this out, one of the best things I heard about psychedelics when I originally got involved with it was empathy, and the idea of seeing things out of other people's lenses. And I kind of want to end the call to say, today my heart goes out for everybody in Ukraine. One of my best friends that has been a major advisor to me by the name of Alan Grant, who had to relocate 10,000 engineers out of Kiev, one of my bestest friends. He said something to me the other day: you really don't know what's going on there unless you are there. And, very thankful and grateful to, just to be alive, to be living in a system where we can work on projects like this. So that's how I'd like to end this.
Great. Well, there it is. That's
Aloha.
a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I put all the information into that chat. Feel free to give our IR team a call or reach out with questions via email. Happy to take them. We have 5 days left. So that's it. Thanks everybody, all of our panelists today for joining, and all of the team. Again, Michael and Jeremy, thank you so much for hosting this, and everybody that was on a call, thank you so much for being here.